All right, this is going to be a review of today's session along with a preview of what I'm watching currently right now in the market, along with my current thoughts. So we're going to start with what I wrote about in the title, which was Apple. So on Apple, what we have, if we zoom out on a weekly time frame, is we have a chart that's starting to deviate above its longer term trend, which in this case dates back to 2020. So this this channel has served as resistance since 2020. It's rejected multiple times back in 2021, in early 2022, in 24, a couple times, early 25, 25 end of last year, and then sort of deviated above it like 2 months ago and then pulled back. So now we're actually pushing over it, and along with that we have sort of a bearish RSI divergence forming on the weekly chart. So it still hasn't confirmed the divergence, but if we start to see this roll over, let's say here, and RSI starts pulling back down with price, we could confirm that it's a bearish divergence, and that would probably not be a good sign for the stock, and probably see it move back down to about 290. But overall, a lot of things line up pretty well with this probably going to fade from here, because you have this running on the narrative of not spending on AI, and with that, you're approaching the $5 trillion market cap number, which is a whole number, and that probably will serve as some resistance. When we go back down to a daily time frame, we also have that bearish RSI divergence starting to form, with the higher high on price with the lower high on the RSI. So we're kind of seeing that on both time frames, the weekly and the daily. And the reason why I titled this title Apple Blow Off Whatever is because if you look at a yearly chart too, you have a straight parabola, and the last 4 years have been violent. And a monthly chart too, you're starting to see the curve starting to form. You're starting to see parabolic curve starting to form. But obviously, I'm not bearish on this long term. Just think it's getting a little stretched there. If we have any market weakness, this will probably roll over as well, along with if the AI trade does reaccelerate somehow. This probably will show some weakness. So this is getting to that $5 trillion mark, and I do think it's going to face resistance here. Next up, we will look at is the Kospi, down 7.6% today. Now, this has gone deep into a bear market ever since that high in the middle of June. Now down 35% almost off the highs, and actually retesting now the highs from February. So possible bounce spot. I do think it's getting a little stretched in the short term, but the chart is pretty ugly now and a little broken, so it needs a lot of fixing to do. But a lot of these memory names, for example, if we look at SanDisk, this is now down 50% off the highs. So things done a half. So more than likely, this could very well bounce around here or pretty soon from where it is right now. But maybe a little bit, and also some capitulation volume sort of here on SanDisk. Now on, not sure which one it was. SNDQ. It's not showing up here, but I'm pretty sure SNDQ had a decent sized print today that showed up, and that could be a sign that possibly someone's exiting their short position. So I do, along with that, SMH did trade its highest volume in a very long time, since like pre-COVID. So that's another possible capitulation sign, but never know. We saw some very big prints on SMH earlier in the day. Let me see if these pop up right here. Yeah, we do right here. $2 billion print in 548.3. Yeah, $2 billion print there. $500 million print here. A $1.2 billion print at 541.3. So yeah, very big prints. 670 million at 549.8. So big prints. So we'll see in a couple of days if those are buy or sells. But for me, semis, I lean neutral here. I'm not probably gonna trade them, bullish or bearish. If they do pull lower and possibly form a capitulation low, then I'll get back into them. But they're not oversold yet, and I'm not interested in that yet. Some other charts that I was looking at was solar. First, solar, very bullish on this stock. I think this is probably the area where it should bottom, in my eyes. Around this level, around the 200 area, some decent sized support here. Along with that, we saw a pretty big dark pool print on TAN today, $50 million, about 1 million shares at 50.51. And TAN is the solar ETF and pretty decent daily volume rise relative to the last couple of days. So possible sign that they're accumulating solar again. Along with that end phase, another chart that's going to look pretty good. With that same thing, when we now, so yeah, solar, but we do have earnings this week on FSLR and Enphase, so that's something to look at. But overall, I do think that both of these are good companies and they're probably going to rally from here. They pulled back pretty hard. Enphase is now down 50% or so off the highs and right into some support again around 37 to 36 to 38, that area. And FSLR, we obviously already covered how there's major support on that chart. One other one I wanted to look at was crypto. Well, this has obviously not been a very convincing rally off the lows. We do have on the 4-year cycle basis that a June capitulation in crypto and now possibly a bottoming process into the end of the year, and then the start of a new cycle that leads this back into all-time highs by 2028 or so. That's interesting. Also, crypto, I mean, it showed pretty obvious relative weakness throughout the whole bull run from April to June, but also has shown a lot of relative strength ever since the market topped. Market topped in mid-June. Since then, Bitcoin is flat, while indexes and individual names are down a ton. So I don't know what to make. I mean, relative weakness when the market's going up, relative strength when it's going down. Overall, if the 4-year cycle proves to be true again, then it should be forming a bottom about now. Now, looking at some index stuff, the S&P has been a lot stronger relative to the NASDAQ. I mean, obviously because less tech heavy. But again, finding resistance at this upper channel, which has dated back to 2023 and sort of right now just correcting through time. We have about a 2-month consolidation and not really no progress either way and just in the middle of the range. So more than likely a correction through time. While on the other hand, the NASDAQ has pulled into the 20-week moving average, which is usually strong support, but this has been a little bit more of a deeper pullback for the NASDAQ relative to the S&P. But we're not yet oversold, but we're getting there, getting close to some extended conditions, but I have no reason to be either super bullish or bearish on the index right now. If we get a bounce up here, maybe it can get bearish, but it's hard for me to be bearish down here. Possible to get a 1 or 2 day flush down and then a rally, but can't really be bearish here on the NASDAQ or the S&P. S&P is even harder. But overall, it's been a pretty tough last 2 months for most people in this environment. We've seen major dispersion. For example, Microsoft has been, again, relative strength ever since the market topped, along with some software names. I mean, ServiceNow it's kind of been flat, but still relative strength again in software. It's become the complete pair dispersion trade. When semis go down, software goes up. When software goes down, semis go up. Is it a joke? Yes, but what can it continue? Who knows? I mean, overall, that dispersion too is what's keeping the indexes alive, while most stocks have drawn down a ton. Another name that I wanted to keep an eye on was SpaceX, because SpaceX, I was very high conviction, heavily talking about a short back here around 200 plus, back when the IPO happened, because it was an obvious. But when this thing became more valuable than Microsoft and Amazon, it was obvious that this thing is just crazy and should not be there. And now it has more than halved since the IPO high. It is about 52% down, yeah. So, but I do think now it's starting to get to the point where it could have a quick, a couple of day rally. Like, it could very easily stage a quick snapback and then just do nothing for a while. I do still think it's overvalued, obviously, but I do think it can fluctuate in price, and that could call for a good opportunity in the leveraged ETF SSPC, which can be shorted, because this thing is bound to decay. Even if SpaceX does draw down another 10-15%, you get a quick couple days run that sends it just back to where it was a week ago, 25% up from 100 to 125. You see this thing draw down 50% just like that. So again, these leverage ETFs, when they're shorted, I mean, they can make a lot of money with that. So that's a possibility. One more SpaceX. Again, it's very hard for me to be bearish on this down here. I was bearish up here, and now I'm not anymore. But it's starting to show some signs of maybe some bottoming, but you never know. This thing's been trading very weird as of late. Some other charts to look at another one was Oracle. I mean, this thing has been straight down ever since June 1st, and it's probably likely to start to find a bid. I mean, at this current pace, it's going to be zero by August, which is very unlikely by the end of August. So should start to find a bottom around here. I do think it's an appealing long. Might take a few days, but may take some time, but clearly I do think it can rally back to the 140s pretty easily. There's a lot of support, and I wrote about this in the Substack a lot earlier in the year, in around March, February time, that Oracle is super appealing around the 120s because of all that support we have from back in 2023 and 2024, along with the 2025 lows, which we are just around right now. So a lot of support on that chart. But yes, that kind of goes about for what I'm looking at right now. Possibly another opportunity could be some of these space stocks. I mean, these have been killed if they want to bounce. Lunar, Rocket Lab, ASTS, along with SpaceX, which I just covered. These things have drawn down, I mean, Lunar, almost 70% in a straight line. So it does become a viable play for at least a 20 to 25% bounce. But other than that, very tough environment, and it's important to protect mental capital and just your capital in general right now. But yeah, I'll get back to posting these videos pretty much every day, recapping the market. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next video.